Welcome, future educators. So glad you're here for this explainer on teaching visual literacy. Today I'm putting on my instructional coach hat and we're going to dive into a really crucial piece of your prep for the Texas 905 exam. But honestly, more importantly, we're prepping for your actual future classroom. So let's just jump right in. Okay, I want you to picture this. You're standing at the front of your very own classroom. You've got a painting or maybe a historical photograph up on the board, and the student is just staring at it. I mean, sure, they're looking at it, but are they actually seeing it? Are they really understanding what's going on? That brings us to a huge question. How exactly do you teach a student to read an image? This is the core challenge we're tackling today. We have to figure out how to bridge that gap between simply glancing at a picture and actively, critically understanding it. Section 1. Decoding visual literacy, the core competency. Specifically, we're looking at Competency 001, Descriptor J. As a new teacher, guiding your students to become visually literate isn't just some nice little bonus activity. It's actually a primary, foundational goal of visual arts education. Now notice how visual literacy totally mirrors something you already know inside and out. Think about the heavy lifting you do to teach a kid how to read. Reading literacy is all about interpreting written language, right? Well, visual literacy is literally the exact same muscle, you're just applying it to visual information instead. Think about it. You wouldn't expect a student to just intuitively pick up a book and know how to read without any instruction, right? Same goes for visual stuff. You absolutely cannot expect them to intuitively know how to read visual information. They really need your active guidance to decode those art elements, principles, and the cultural context behind them.
So what does this all mean? At its core, visual literacy is defined as the ability to interpret, analyze, evaluate, and actually create visual images and artwork. It is an active, multi-step process. You're literally equipping your students with a critical life skill here. I mean, we live in a world completely saturated with media, right? Teaching them how to process visual data is just as vital as teaching them to process a standard paragraph of text.
Section 2. The language of art. Academic vocabulary. Because to teach this effectively and, to pass your certification exam, we've got to make sure we have a shared language. Consider this table your instructional toolkit. First up, we've got visual analysis. That's the mechanics, right? Examining the lines, shapes, and colors an artist actually puts on the canvas. Once your students analyze those pieces, they move on to interpretation, which is where they explain the meaning or message behind the work. Like, why do the artists choose to use those super dark colors? Then comes aesthetic judgment. This is where they form thoughtful opinions about the artwork's effectiveness. Does it actually succeed in conveying its emotion? We also have artistic purpose, which is basically figuring out the whole reason the artwork was created in the first place. And finally, visual culture. This one is huge. It's the everyday images, symbols, and visual messages your students encounter the second they step outside your classroom walls. Everything from highway billboards to internet memes. As their teacher, you're going to guide your students through these exact vocabulary concepts so they can successfully decode cultural heritage and those everyday societal symbols. Section 3. Teaching in action. A third-grade scenario. Because theory is great, but let's see what this actually looks like in practice. Imagine stepping into a bustling third-grade classroom to see visual literacy happening in real time.
Let's break down this third-grade teacher's lesson step by step. So step 1, the teacher displays several artworks on the board. Pretty standard, right? But they don't stop there. Step 2 is where the magic really happens. The teacher actively guides a discussion focusing on color, line, balance, cultural influences, and artistic purpose. By pointing out those specific elements, they're handing the students the exact tools they need for step 3, where the students get to interpret the artwork's meaning. And finally, step 4, and guys, this one is absolutely critical. The students must support their interpretations with actual evidence. They can't just say, "Oh, it's a happy picture." Nope, they have to say, "It's a happy picture because of the bright yellow colors and the balanced composition." See the difference?
Now, I want you to reflect on a critical question here. What instructional decisions would be most effective to help students find that evidence? Think about your own future teaching strategies for a second. How are you going to prompt a student who's maybe struggling to articulate their thoughts? Well, maybe you'll ask them to point directly to a specific visual element like a curved line or a dark shadow to back up their ideas. Remember, your role isn't to just hand them the answers. It's to ask the targeted questions that make them look closer. Okay, please cement this golden rule into your memory. Visual literacy involves both viewing and creating art. It's totally a two-way street. True visual literacy requires students to not just consume and evaluate visual information, but to actively get in there, get their hands dirty, and create it themselves. The actual act of creating completely reinforces their ability to view critically, and vice versa.
Section 4. Key takeaways for the TX's 905 exam. All right, it's time to focus in on the specific foundational facts you need to confidently lock down for your certification test.
These are your essential pillars for Competency 001, Descriptor J. Let's do a quick recap. Number 1, visual literacy is a major goal of visual arts instruction. Number 2, students must learn to analyze, interpret, and evaluate artwork. Number 3, always remember that art serves many purposes across different cultures and societies. It's not just pretty pictures, it's cultural communication. And number 4, our golden rule from earlier, visual literacy involves both viewing and creating art. If you can understand and apply those 4 points, you are going to be in fantastic shape for the exam.
Section 5, your future classroom connection. Because look, passing the test is literally just the beginning. The real goal here is the incredible impact you are going to have on your students.
I want to leave you with this really powerful question to chew on. What will this look like when I'm teaching my own students? How will you use these exact concepts to help your diverse learners decode the crazy visual world around them? Every single time you study a competency, I want you to visualize yourself right there in the room, guiding the discussion, asking those targeted questions, and watching those light bulbs go off in your students' heads. Because you are building visually literate, analytical thinkers who will be so much better equipped to navigate our highly visual world. Keep that vision clear, future educators. You've absolutely got this.